Hello everyone, my name is Adam. I'm a 3D artist and illustrator, and today I'm going to show you how to make an isometric room in Blender. So first we need to add the reference, so let's do Shift A, Image, Reference, and go to where the reference images are. Right now I haven't named these, but I will add specific names to these later on, and you can search them like that. For now, let's load this one up. And today we're going to be making this room here. So let me select this real quick, rotate in the x-axis 90, G, constraint to x, and we should just put it like about there. So we're going to be making this room here. Now it might look a bit complicated, but a lot of this stuff is, well, modeling round objects and like shaping. I will say this one will take quite a long time to model. There are things that I like to account as complicated items. Well, enough of talking, let's start modeling. Go into edit mode, do face selection with 3. Real quick, let me activate something. And before I forget, if you don't have these settings on, just go over here to edit, preferences, here on add-ons, search loop, and turn on this, and extra mesh objects, and turn on that by selecting the check mark. The other thing you need to put is inputs, emulate 3 mouse buttons, then you go to key mapping, and we turn on tab for pie menu, and extra shading pie menu. So once you have all that on, you go over here and save profile. Close this off, and let's continue on with what I was doing. In face selection, select these 3 faces here. We just delete those. There we go. And now we have this. Now we add a solidify modifier to this. Go to the wrench, go here, and let's add a solidify modifier. Let's increase it to 0.09. There we go, and that seems to be pretty good thickness. Alright, and before we apply it, go into face selection. So being in edit mode, face selection, G, constraint to X, and we move it out like that. Because we're trying to get the same shape here. The main idea is, well, we're going to be resizing this room as we start adding stuff, so don't worry about that. The other thing I want you to do is select this and add another modifier and a bevel modifier. And we do 0.02. There we go, and that'll add like a very tiny bevel to everything. And it'll help when you're going into a view like this, where you really can't see the floor too much or the wall. So it's just something that's kind of helpful when positioning things. Like here when you're pressing 3, you can still kind of see the floor a little bit. It's barely visible, but it's visible nonetheless. Afterwards, if you want, you can remove the bevel modifier or leave it if you like how it looks. Personally, I would remove it because then it has nice sharp edges on everything. Okay, so let's start making some of the objects. Leave it there on 0.09. Oh wait, pardon me, it's 0.09 on this one. I changed the solidify modifier instead of this one. It should be 0.02. There we go. Now it's correct. Sorry about that, I changed the wrong one. See, now if we go into this view, yeah, now it's much more visible. Okay. I'm sorry, I changed the size of the thing. So let's start making a few of the objects. The first object we're making is the bed. So let's just do Shift A, Mesh, and let's do a cube. Scale it in the Z-axis, like this. And let's try to get the same shape. Of course, another way we can separate it is by making this room here, but we need to have the bed first for size reference. Scale it down, scale it in the X-axis. To make it a rectangle, press 7, G, move it over to here, and GZ to move it close to the floor. So scale in the Z-axis, make it pretty thin. Try to get the same thickness as the one in the picture. So if we go at the same angle, it seems to be around that thickness. We can always scale it up in the X-axis and in the Y-axis. G, Y, just so it's not stuck to the back of the wall. And now we have to make these little legs here. So let's quickly just move the camera a bit. G, Z to move it upwards. And we can add the legs now. So it seems to be a double bed, so I'm going to scale it up in the x-axis actually a little bit. There we go. And to make the legs, all we have to do is shift D on this, scale this down, scale it in the y-axis to make it a square, scale it again, press 7, move it to the corner to about there. We can scale it in the y-axis a little bit more, and scale it in the z-axis now. G, Z to move it down, press 7, and we can adjust it with 7. There we go. Right on the edge. And it seems that the leg is pretty tall. It goes all the way up to here, so we're going to have to apply that to the UVs. Granted, we can always just, split it down the middle, and that should pretty much make it easy to design, but that's not an issue. Z, scale it up a little bit. We click both, G, Z. And it doesn't matter if it clips a little bit, it just needs to be there. And we have to copy it to the other side. So let's just click this, Shift D, constrain it to the x-axis, move it there, make sure it's not out of the bound, G. And now we just do 7, Control J, and Shift D, G, and constrain to Y. There we go. And let's check if that's the correct size of the bed frame, at least. It seems to be a little bit longer, so let me just click all of these, Control J, because they're practically the same material. We press 7, we press X-ray mode, edit mode, vertice selection, select these, G, constrain to Y, and we just move it forward a little bit like this. And let's just activate X-ray and go into object mode. Okay, edit mode again, Control R, here in the center, move this to the edge about there, face selection, select this face, and extrude upwards to about there. We can always modify it if we want to. For example, it's a little tilted backwards, so what we're going to do is go into object mode, G, Y, move it forward a little bit, edit mode, have that face selected, G, Y, and just tilt it a little bit like in the image. We can just shift a cube again, G, constrain to x-axis, move to about here, scale it down, do object set origin to geometry, G, X, scale it down even more, press 7, G, move it into its spot, right about there, and let's try to get it in the same shape as this. So, press 7, go into edit mode, vertice selection, select these, or rather go into X-ray and then select these, G, X, and try to get the same distance on this side. Select these ones, G, Y, and try to get it right on the edge there. Now we select these top ones, G, Z, we make it pretty flat, and there we have the start to that bed. We can always look at the reference again to see that we're doing everything fine, and yes, we are. Alright, get out of X-ray, Control R, let's add one here, Control R again, and let's add another edge loop about there. Next thing we have to do is go face selection, select these faces here, and we just extrude these ones here. So just right click, extrude along normals to about there, go face selection, and press G, Z on this and just move it upwards. There we go. And for now it looks kind of square, But don't worry, we're going to add more detail to that by doing edge selection, Control R, add a line here, move it upwards a little bit, just to separate, Control R again. Let's add another line about here. Do the same on the other side. Perfect. Now we do edge selection. So we just select this little edge here and this one. Now we do Control B to bevel. And it should bevel it like this. You can scroll up to add more segments to it. Scroll it up until you think it looks good. There we go. And we're trying to emulate this little like round corner like this, which we kind of did here. And we also have to round off a little bit of the corners on the bed itself. And to do that, we just go edge selection. We select this edge and this one. At least all these ones on the top, except for the one closest to the bed rest back here. We also do this one. Control B. And we increase it a little bit. About here, where it's not intersecting too much. There we go. And that doesn't seem to be rounded off much. At least I don't like how it looks. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. Let's Control Z on that. And just deselect this edge here. Control B. There we go. Much better. We can reduce the amount. For now, that looks pretty good. We don't really need to add anything else. And that should be most of the bed done. Alright, and let's start making the pillow. Shift A, Mesh. Let's add a rounded cube. Scale it down in the Z-axis to about there. Let's go into edit mode. Control R. Scroll up until you get like a little thing in the center here. Right click. You Control R. Scroll up. There we go. Double click. Now, in vertice mode, press O. Make sure this is activated right here. Select this, or rather select these in the middle. Press 1, G, scroll it up, and constrain it to the Z-axis. And make it to like about there. And do the same over here. G, constrain to the Z-axis, move it down. And there, that little like center bit is now like that. Turn on X-ray just in case. So let's press 7. This little edge here. G. Make the O pretty big. And constrain it to the X-axis like that. And do the same on the other side. G, X. Move it inwards. Do it with this edge. G, Y. G, Y. And if you want, you can keep moving these center bits. So turn off X-ray. Select these center bits again. Except now just select these. G, Z. And that should make your little pillows very volumetric. Select these as well. G, Z. And just keep increasing the size exponentially. G, Z. There we go, and now our pillow is nice and puffy. We still have to do the thing with this. So, like, make it go inwards a little bit on these corners. So, let me just quickly select this one and this one. Let's reduce the size of the O. So, scale. Reduce the size to effect like that. Much better. Let's select this, scale to about there, and we do the same on every corner.